those who are expert in programming, they can also do so many things in later on. But there are also, I have seen almost more than 60 participants are there in our session. Those who are from the not from the electronics and computer science background. Those are from the marketing or other backgrounds. Even there are few teachers are there. So I have kept the sessions in a such a way that will also help them to get the overview of IoT, and this will also help them to implement the IoT in their schools and their colleges with the students. Okay, and the other thing that you can see, this is the Firebase, that is the cloud, the Google Cloud is there that I am going to use. And the another thing is there is a MIT App Inventor, which is a block-based Android app development web-based application. So actually, we don't need any software share much more, but for the programming of this IoT board, we need a software. So even if you don't have any okay, even if you don't have this hardware, don't worry about this. I'll try first in a reverse method. That is, I will first cover the cloud, then I will cover the app development, so that I will try to show you how there is a communication between the cloud and the app is there. Okay, and then finally I will go to the IoT development board. Okay, and I will show you those who have the hardware. I will show you how to use the hardware, and those who do not have the hardware, I will also show you how through the online few web-based application we can send the data to the cloud, and then we can observe on a MIT app through your mobile app. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. This is my the outline of today's hands-on session. So I'll try to explain you what will be the complete IoT system development. So you'll understand what actually we are doing today. Then I will go through a Google Firebase Cloud, and then I will try to show you how to develop the Android app using MIT Inventor.
Venkatesh sir, there is no voice.
Yeah. So the next thing that we'll do is the Android app development through the MIT App Inventor. And next, we'll do some of the programming with the IoT board, that is the ESP32. And then with this, we'll try to cover two of the applications, that is monitoring IoT node data using mobile app through the cloud. And the next, control devices at the remote location using mobile app through the cloud. So all these things we'll try to cover today. So this is what we will discuss here for 5 to 10 minutes, because this is very important for the new people, those who are not even aware about the how actually the hardware is developed. As from the last 4 days, we have gone through different parts of the IoT system. So most of us already come to know that what is the IoT is there, what is the cloud is there, what is the different product life cycle is there, what are so many things are there in the IoT that we have come to know. Okay, so this type of block diagram already so many people have shown to us. Okay, so exactly this same thing now we are going to implement today. So what actually I have done here, I have divided the complete IoT system into two parts. One, that is the hardware design, and another is software design. Most of us try to keep our focus on the hardware design, and other generally the computer science people, they try to keep their focus on the software design. But if you would like to develop a complete IoT ecosystem, then you should have a complete hardware design as well as software design. Okay, as we know, it is also very difficult for the beginners who are in the IoT to develop a complex software architecture for the IoT. Just like if you use the AWS or Microsoft Azure or even IBM WhatsApp, then they are the complex type of clouds are there. So these are using with this clouds and software structure. It is very difficult for the beginners also. But there are many clouds available on the uh, different on the internet, that the easily with few functions or few just HTTP lines, we can easily send the data and we can route that data to your GUI. So such type of clouds can be used for the basic projects that we can show to basic community issues that we can solve. Just like suppose in a one of the lecture by our Mr. Abhijit Joshi, he gave us the application that we can control the pump. So if you would like to control the pump, we don't need a complex architecture of the cloud. So why to go for the complex architecture? Because you just want to control the pump. So why not to go for the basic freeware clouds from where we can control the actuators. So what actually I have done here, in a hardware design, I have made here the one IoT node. The IoT node I am showing here in a such a way that it will have one power source. So you can use either the battery or you can use any external source through AC power. Then you can convert that AC power into DC, and or you can simply use the chargers, and that you can provide the power to this IoT node. Then another part I have shown here is the sensors. So it means that there will be some sensors connected with the IoT node if you would like to monitor the data. And then I have also shown here some of the actuators which are connected to your IoT node. So if you would like to control the actuator, so these are sensors and actuator are optional to each other. What actually it means that if you would like to just monitor the data, then you just connect the sensor. If you would like to just control some of the devices, then use the actuator. What actually it means that, let us take the example. Suppose you would like to control the only water pump. You don't want to get whether the water pump is on or not, or is there any data from the pump you want. You just control your water pump. So what will be there? In that case, we will not have a sensors, but we'll have only actuators, because your pump will act here as a actuators. Okay. Let us take an example. Let's take another example that if you take the even agriculture example, say we are measuring the farm.
The voice is lost.
Wankadesh sir, there is no voice. I think there is a network issue.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, don't worry, all of you. Actually, I am using two networks at the same time, so that if suddenly one of the network goes, it takes around 15 to 20 seconds to come back to the network. So sorry for the interruption. So if there is such thing happens, please be there. I will be just come back within 15 to 20 seconds in the meeting. Okay. So now we are trying to understand the application for the sensor. So let us take an example that there is a farm and you would like to measure some of the data from your farm, just like say the moisture, soil moisture, or say the humidity in the area, or whether there is a how much speed of wind is there, or there may be a weather related information that you would like to measure from that point. So what you will do, in that case only we have a sensors are there, and that will be connected to your IoT node. Okay, so it is the optional, everything is there. So either you put the sensor with your IoT node, or you may have an actuator. So, and the another thing that I am showing here is this antenna type of structure. It means that there is a need of the connectivity with your IoT node. Any type of connectivity you can add, whether it is Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, LoRa, or any type of connectivity that you want, that you have to add depending on your application. Okay, and then there is a IoT gateway we needed. So if you see, sometimes people convert this IoT gateway into their own server, or this will be just a gateway which will just route your IoT node data to the internet. So they just work to get the data here, and they just route that complete data to the So now what happens? The IoT gateway is just diverting your data from your IoT node to the internet or to the cloud, or wherever it is we are actually want to go. Okay, but there are some people who are actually doing other things, that they convert their IoT gateway into their own servers. In that case, what actually we need, there is your own ISP is needed. Just like sometimes the dongles, the 3G, 4G dongles we have, you just connect them here and convert your IP. You just forward your IP in a such a way that it will be acts as your own server. So in that case, we don't need this part. That is, we don't need this cloud. Okay, so you can directly this server will act as your gateway will act as your server, and directly whatever your apps are there, or front end softwares are there, that will be fetched data from your server itself. Okay, I hope you are understanding this one. And then whatever your IoT gateway, suppose if you are not doing this thing, so as we are not doing this thing as converting your IoT gateway into a server, so what actually we are doing, we will have IoT gateway. And now what will be the IoT gateway in our case? A simple your mobile, that is what providing the network to your IoT node, or in case of any your different application, there will be a internet routers or internet hubs that will be acts as your IoT gateway. So basically, all these IoT nodes will be connected with your IoT gateway, say your routers or your mobile hotspots, and these devices, maybe your routers or your mobiles, are connected to the internet. Okay, and then there will be a cloud. So here is the part that comes. So cloud here, there may be either the cloud or there are different servers which are providing us some storage for our data, so that we can route our data from our hardware through the internet and to get on your devices. Okay, so one thing that you can do, either the routing, that is just route the data. Another thing that we can do, the storage. Another thing that also we can do, there are many. So why I am showing all these names, there are many clouds which offers all such things. There may be another option that you can monitor the data itself on the cloud. There may be another thing that is we can do is the data analytics on your cloud itself. So suppose we have too much, just like AWS is there, or even Firebase, or even IBM Azure, or IBM Watson is there, Microsoft Azure is there. They have the capability to do the data analytics. So it means that you just store the data, whichever data you have, apply your algorithms of machine learning and AI, do the analytics, and you can also send some of the actions back to your nodes, or you can send the actions to somewhere else on the customer users. So that is also possible with your cloud. Then, so we have a routing, just simple routing we are doing, means what? We are not storing the data, we just have a facility so that data should be routed through the internet. Another, we have a storage. So as we are assuming that we do not have a local storage, so we are storing the data on the internet. The next thing that we are doing is the analytics. Okay, so in this way we can have the multiple things which we can do. Also, there are many clouds, they can allow us to host our own APIs and other things. So there are so many things available in the cloud. As you try to understand in future, for if those there are many researchers I have seen in our participants. So those who are already working with all such type of things, so they know how the clouds are providing different things. Okay, and finally the thing comes is your graphical user interface on your desktop or on your laptops or on your mobile. So the best way is to get the mobile apps, because it will be handy and you can observe the complete data. So basically we'll work in a 3 mode. One, the IoT node and gateway. Sorry, this is going to be this will be our IoT node, okay, and then we'll use our router or hotspot as a IoT gateway, and then we'll work with the cloud, and then we'll work with the app development or user interface. I hope you are able to understand this one. Okay, so now we'll we'll move ahead and we'll go to the another part of our discussion today. So we'll discuss about the Firebase Google Cloud. So basically, I will not go much more into the what is the Google Cloud and Firebase is there, and so what are the so many things are there. Okay, because that things you can read from the internet itself, and there are so many. As you know, even if I explain so many things about the Firebase Google Cloud, but I know on the internet, if you just go to the Firebase website itself, it will give you in detail what is exactly the Firebase is there. But I will try to show you what is the Firebase Cloud is there. So in a simple word, what is actually it is? It is not using any type of tables. It is not using any type of tables or columns or any type of rows. So what actually it uses? It just uses a structure called as a bucket base. What is the meaning of bucket base? We know that. We just put something in a bucket and get that whatever the thing in the bucket. Okay. So just like आप ऐसा सोचिए कि भाई you are putting some water in a big basket. Okay, so what will happen? You just take water from the well and you put that water in something. So what is happening? The water coming in your bucket and you are again sending it to somewhere else. So it means that every time in the bucket there will be a data. Okay, and that is not going to increase. So because the size of your bucket is fixed, so you can put only that much size of data in the bucket. Okay, so you are not going to increase the data, but there are many options available in the Google Cloud, in the Firebase itself. So, but there are many options which are in the Pro base. That is, you have to purchase so many things here to host, to store the large amount of data, and to monitor. So, I will not go. So that's why what I said, that will not make the things complex here. We'll try to keep as simpler as possible. Okay, so the thing is that there will be a one bucket. In the bucket, there will be a one key, and that key will have a value only. So it means that any data that we are going to route through our cloud will have a one key value. So just like say the switch data, or you can say the light data, and that light data will have a value. Say it will be 100, or say we may have a temperature. So temperature will be our key, and the key will have a value 30 degree. So that only these two parameters are there in the our Firebase. So one will be the bucket. So there will be a one bucket name. In the bucket, there will be a one key. That key is nothing but your sensor data. Any sensor data or any actuator data is there. So that key will have some name, and that name we have to assign. Look, the Firebase is so simpler and easier to the user that it gives us every rights to the user. That you can assign the bucket name, you can assign the key name. So everything you can assign yourself. And the values that also you can assign yourself, or you can assign that values from your sensors or through your apps. So it is everything very simpler and easier on a Firebase. So I hope you understand what is there. There is your database. In the database there is a bucket, and in the bucket there is a one key, and value is assigned to that key. That is only the four terminologies you just remember. Okay, so other things we don't need right now for our hands-on session. What will be there? One database, another will be the bucket name, the third will be the key, that is the name given for our sensor data. Okay, just like suppose your data is coming from LDR, or your data is coming from the humidity sensor, or your data is coming from temperature sensor, or your data is coming from say oximeter, any type of sensor that you are using. So assign a particular key to your that sensor data. And now whatever the values coming for that particular sensor, that will be the values. So there will be a key and there will be a values. I hope you understand this one. Okay, so I think discussing through a slide, it will be difficult for everyone. So what we will do, we'll do a hands-on. Okay, because through that you will easily understand what is the Firebase cloud is there, how to do everything, and how the bucket looks, how the database looks, how the bucket looks, and how the key and their value looks. Okay, so we'll have the hands-on session on the Firebase cloud first. As already I have told that we'll go in a reverse direction, that will not work directly on a hardware. First, we'll work on a cloud. We'll then make our Android app. We'll connect our cloud with the Android app, and then we will take the hands-on session on our hardware. Because there are many people in our workshop, they do not have the complete hardware. So otherwise, if I start with the hardware itself, then it will be difficult. Their interest will go on and go up, and then whenever I come to this cloud-based and the app development, they will not actually attend this complete workshop. So I will first go through the cloud, then the mobile app development, and then I will come to the hardware. Okay. So if you have any questions, you can put in the chat box. Actually, there are some people who are actually not muting their mics, so that's why I have disabled your mics. if I request all the participants while joining the session, please keep your mic in a mute so that I will also give a right to everyone to unmute yourself. Okay, now I have given a right to unmute yourself. Up till now, if you have any doubts,
Sir, I have a question.
yeah.
Can I, sir?
Yeah,
Sir,
yes,
I want
yes.
to know that, sir, you are telling us that we people are going to have the Firebase Google Cloud and we are going to have the buckets kind of thing over there. So that many buckets we need to create जितना हमारा हार्डवेयर में सेंसर्स होगा सर or we can have one bucket and we can have only the key values. What is like, I'm not able to map the things, sir.
Ma'am, yeah. Even if you discuss these things orally, even you will not understand and other participants will not understand. What I will do, I will try to show this on a hands-on session itself.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Fine.
that will, then it will be very easy for all of you. Okay, hope my screen is now visible to you. So, what is the website that we have to go? Just go to the Firebase. If you are using the Google on your Chrome, if you are using a Chrome and if you have already the signed in account to your Chrome, then automatically it goes to the Firebase. We don't need any login. But if you do not have a Google login on your Chrome, then you have to log in to the Firebase also. So I have just clicked here the Firebase. I'm going here the firebase.google.com. It means it is also one of the service of the Google. Just like we have a Gmail, we have a Drive, we have a Photos. Just like this is one of the service of the cloud is there. So okay. So if you see, I have already logged into my Chrome with my ID. So what happened? It automatically gone to the Firebase. I did not need to log into Firebase. Okay. If you did not get such type of window, it means that you have to log in. Okay. So you just go there and you have to log in there. So I'll sign out my account first. And I will enter the Firebase again so that you will understand me. So now see. Okay, so such type of window will get, and now this time I'm getting the sign in button. So those who do not have a direct login to your Chrome will get the sign in. Those who are already logged into your Chromes will get the go to console. So I'll click on sign in. So Firebase uses your just simple Google account. Okay, if you have your any Google account, you just enter their Google account credentials. Okay. I hope those who, I request all of you, if you are doing after me, please let me know and stop me wherever you face that I am ahead of you. Okay. Because there is a somewhat 1 to 2 seconds lag is there in the presentation, so always. So there may be possibility that you may miss something. So please interrupt me, stop me wherever you think you do not understand something. Okay. I hope you did this thing. Now click on a go to console. Now if I click on a go to console, now it will let me make into the Firebase projects. If you are doing this first time, there will be something different will appear. Okay, that is welcome to Firebase. If you are doing this first time, correct? Otherwise, if you are already worked with the Firebase, the window will be like this. That is what I am showing here, correct? So those who are working first time will get the welcome to Firebase window, correct?
And sir, create a
Yes,
project
yes,
is
sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
Create a project. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Create
yeah,
a project
yes,
is
that
there.
is, yeah, welcome to Firebase, and there will be a create a project. Good, great.
Right.
Yeah. Now, those who are working first time, just click on a create a project, and those who are already work with the Firebase, they click on a add a project. Okay, and now you can see the same window appeared for me also and for you also. So it is asking me, let's start with the name of your project. So whatever the name that you want, suppose I am doing the FDP project or so I am saying the FDP hands-on. You can assign or say some 2 days before some one of the participants said that he is working with the oximeter project. So I can say oximeter project, any name that you want. Okay, just give any name. So I'll just give here the FDP demo. So one of the thing it is not going to use any underscore spaces in the name of the project. Okay, so use simple capital small letters or the numbers, and then click on a continue. Those who are doing the first time, they will get something here that just like the accept the terms and conditions. Okay, click on that accept the terms and condition. Okay, and then click on continue. And then it
Sir,
is.
what is the meaning of this select? Yeah, sir, what is the meaning of this on this select parent resource that was there in the after this project name? It's asking of select parent resource after giving the project name. Yeah, sir, नीचे ये that's a pen.
Okay, okay. Okay, what is that actually? The project name that I have given, FDP demo. In the same way, every participant may give the name, correct?
Okay.
Then how Firebase understand it? I request all the participants please mute your mics. So here the FDP demo, it's missed the name of our project, but there may be possibility that there are many people give the same name. So to understand that there is a something else the Firebase has to represent your project. So therefore there is a another unique identifier is there for our project, that is the same. So see, even if you write FDP demo here in the same name, my identifier will be different and your identifier will be different. Then I will click. Even sometime you can write the same project name in your same login. You can write the same project name. It may be possible that you are doing the same type of project every time and you are giving the same name. But every time the Firebase will understand that project with another unique identifier. Then click on that enable Google Analytics. See, this is actually not needed for us, but if you just click on enable Google Analytics, this will be useful for you in the future. Remember that I am not going to discuss all such things here today because it will be very difficult for the other participants, those who are not from the IoT background. If the time permits, we'll also discuss all this analytics part. Then finally click on a continue. Now it is asking me select an account. So for the other people, it may be asking the country and like this thing. So just select the particular country. Then again, you may have the accept the Google Analytics terms and condition. and then click on a create project. And then, okay, so just and then click on a create. So we'll get such type of window. I hope you got the same type of window. I request if you are having any such, if you are getting the same thing, you just put in a chat. Some people are saying they are getting same window. Are you getting the my view here now? Yes, yes. Okay, great. So now you got this project created on a Firebase, and now click on a continue. Okay, do you got this one now? Great. Some of the people are now there posting the screenshot of their project on a chart itself. Great. So we'll get the such type of window. Yeah. So now here actually we have to create our database. So we have just created the project, and now we have to create the database. So here you can see on the this left hand panel, you will see there is a something. There is a project overview, project settings, authentication, then Firebase database, then real-time database, then there is a storage, then there is a hosting, there are functions, machine learning. So many things are there. Those who are working right now on a Firebase, later on you try all such things. Just these are the storage. There's something hosting is there on a Firebase. Also, there are few functions and analytics is there. So try this afterwards because it will also going to help you. Okay. So today we'll try to go to the real-time database. So just click on a real-time database. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, sorry. Those who are doing actually first time, they will get the another options called as a build. Okay, there will be a build option. So click on that build, and then there is a authentication, Firebase database, real-time database, storage, hosting, functions, and machine learning is there. Okay. So likewise, there will be option. Correct. So this is the build option is there. So this is the build option, and if you click on this, then there will be authentication, Firebase database, real-time database, then storage and other. Then other things are there also here, just like monitoring, then some analytics, performance, and so many things are there. Okay. So go to the build and go to real-time database. So click on real-time database. There are so many things here given, just like how do I get started, what is the real-time database is there. If you would like to learn so many things here, okay, how the bucket and everything, how the database works. So everything is already given here. So that will also help those people who would like to go in a detail. Just go here and click on this thing and read the videos, listen to videos, and understand everything. Okay. Then click on create database. Okay. Now click on create database. It is asking me your location setting is where your real-time database will be stored. So don't worry about this. You just skip wherever you want. Okay, there are only 3 options we have. So if you use the Singapore, it will be very fast to get the data routing. Okay. Anything that you can see. And the nearest to us is the Singapore, that we are selecting Singapore. Then click on next. And I will go to as I will. So what actually I want to do, that any third party device, just like my other device is there or my app is there, they would like to change this data. Okay, so it means that any external party would like to change the data. Those who know the writing key or the authentication of this database, correct? So what I will do, I will go in a test mode. I will go to the test mode. In a lock mode, actually, you have to use the APIs on your devices to connect with your database. So I will go to the test mode. I think my mouse is also visible to you. Is it visible to all of you? Yes, it is visible. See, so this is what I think it is visible. Yes. So just click on a start in test mode and then click on enable. Great. Now we got this database. This is our database. Okay. And so now we'll come to this is our complete database. Now here, if you click, it is asking me add child. Okay. It means that there will be one database and you can add the. So the database will have a child. The child will have a child. Likewise, you can create the number of the childs and their buckets. So this is all called as a bucket. So let's click here. So sorry, I will not. No. So just like say, I'll write here the any database. Say, sorry, a sensor name LDR. Okay, LDR data. So this will be my, and I will put a value 100, 200, and add. So you can see here, this is my database, and this is what the key and its value. This is the key and its value. Do you got how we did it? How we did this? Let me again repeat this one. Here is the plus button. So click on add child. Click on it. Write any name of your key. Say LDR data or anything. Say control or say light data. Okay. And I am assigning any value. So see, this is database. Under this database, there is a one key and its value is there. Right now, we have not created any bucket. Okay, right now we have not created any bucket. Directly there is the data, and then there is a one key and its value is there. Okay. Now, if you would like to create your own bucket, है ना? आपको अलग-अलग क्या करना है कि you want separate buckets, and in that you want your own data. So what actually you have to do, you have to click here. See where I have clicked. There is a database path is there. This is the database path. Okay, and you just click on it, and after the slash, you just write any bucket name that you want. Suppose I write, suppose your project is there for farm project. So I just write a farm project. So it means that whatever the data coming from my farm, that will be in this bucket, and I will just click the go. Okay, now you can, if you click on this, so what we have to do, click on this database, and then write farm name you can give to your bucket, and then click go. Great. Now we got the our bucket, and now here again you can add the child. Here the child means you can add the key and its value. So let me click plus, and now this time I write. So this is my farm project. So I write say soil culture. And I write say its value is 50%. Okay, I click add. Then again I will go to the farm project and I will write plus, and I will write another sensor data, say humidity, or you can say wind speed. I write say 50 knot or say 60 knots. Add. So now you can see this is my project, farm project, and sorry, this is my bucket now. And in this bucket, actually, I have added different variables and their keys. So in this way, the question the madam has asked, that is how many buckets you can create and how many data will be there. So in this way, you can create multiple buckets and you can have a multiple data also there. Okay. And if I click on my project again here, I hope you have done this one. Have you done this thing? Okay, great. So if I click on this my database name, okay, now see here what it is showing. Under this database, it is showing my bucket here now. There it was not showing it. How to go there? You just click on this database, and if you click on this, it will give you the bucket. And then, yeah, ma'am can ask the question, you just put in a chat. Because it is sometimes there are many participants who are not keeping their mic in mute state, so it's difficult to complete the session. So if you have any questions, I request you put in the chat so that I will answer. So now we got the database, and then there is a bucket, and then there is the value. No, just I'm just giving you the example that this will be the sensor data that will be coming from, and I'm just assigning the value. Okay. It is not necessary that you have to put the values. Actually, we don't need all such things. But I'm just helping you to how actually the data will be there. Suppose the sensor data comes from your IoT node, then how it will look here, that what I am showing you. No, I am not showing anything. See, what I am just giving you the way how the data will look in your database. Whether it is measured, whether it is calibrated, whether it is actual data, or whether it is the same data, whatever the meaning is there, please don't go inside it. We have just observing how the data, your buckets, and how the keys and their values will look in the database. Okay, so try to understand. Because whatever the IoT node will be there, that you are doing. Okay, so whether that IoT node is sending the calibrated data, whether it is sending the measured data, that you know, correct? So we are not going whether this data. So you know, I'm just putting the any random values. So don't think about this one, correct? So actually we are not interested in everything. This thing, okay? Just I hope you understand this one. Okay. If you have any doubts till the time, you can ask me. Yes, great. Whatever the data will come from your sensors and your node, it will look like this. Great. Great. Okay, so hopefully you understood this one. Okay, and now so try to understand what is we have a bucket name is there, because this is why I am showing this one, because this is going to help you see how much people are asking me how many parameters, and we have almost a 10 GB of free database is available. Okay, so you just download that much amount of data on your database. So you can create number of parameters and you try to store that data. Okay, I have worked with the 20 such type of parameters. It worked. I don't think so. Your different parameters will go beyond the 20. Okay, so once you are done with this, other parameters I will not tell right now to you, because these other parameters that will get the time of when we design our Android app. Okay, so let me what I am doing now. I am deleting everything right now. Okay. I'm also deleting this one. I'm also deleting this one. Okay, so nothing is there. Just I have a database. Why I would like to show here that Firebase provides us the API-based data creation, data storage, data updation, and data read. What actually it means? You can remotely, means if you have a API of your Firebase, then easily you can create under this database. You can assign keys and you can assign values from remotely also. So therefore, what I have done, I have removed everything. I have just kept the database. Okay, I hope you understand this one, because when I will go to my Android app, in that Android app, I will create I will use the Firebase API, and from that API, I will create a bucket. I will create a key and its value, and that will automatically get added into this database. Okay. Project will have a bucket and bucket will have a sensor data. Yes, correct. People call in different ways. I call and read this way, that is bucket. Some people call that there is a database. There is a one child. The child has different childs and the child has values. Likewise, so how you are reading from the different papers or their structure, the people give the different names there. Yeah, there are a number of. What I'm saying that maximum database size is 10 GB, which is allocated to us. Okay, how you are using it, it is up to you. Suppose if you use a single sensor and within 2 days you have stored that 10 GB of data. Okay, continuously within a 1 second you are sending say hundreds of data. So it will be within a single sensor that 10 GB will fill up in 4 to 5 days. Then it is difficult for you to get the data for other buckets or other sensors. Try to understand me. Because if you would like to use number of buckets and number of sensors, then obviously you have to keep your complete database in the Firebase should be as less as possible, because you should not fill the complete 10 GB of data. So just like suppose you want data from your farm, okay, and you want to measure the moisture of your soil. Is it necessary to measure the soil moisture for every 1 minute? No. You can measure it for 1 hour or after every 4 hours, correct? So therefore, in a daily basis, you will get only 4 or 5 bytes of data. In that case, you can have a multiple sensors and multiple data, and that 10 GB of data will work for 2 to 3 years. Okay. So the frequency of the data that is coming from your sensor decides how much data that you are going to store on a Firebase. I hope you are understanding this. Now I have deleted everything. I will come to again this file. Please do not close this window, okay? Because we will come to this window again. Because so otherwise, if you do not want to come to this window, do one thing. You just copy these things. And say we have a notepad. I'm copying few of the parameters that we will need when we design our Android app. Okay. So go to here, and this is the path. You just copy it as it is. This is the path of your database. So copy it and just save it like this. So copy in your notepad. I will give the name here like this. My database, or say Firebase path. Firebase path. And next thing that we'll do, we'll go here. You can see here there is a project overview and there is a setting button. Project overview on the left hand side top corner. Project overview is there, and there is a setting button available. If you click on it, it will project setting in the beginning. Okay, you go to the project setting, and it will open the window like this. Do you got this thing? Okay, great. Now we will click on I request the participant, those who are doing, please put yes or no in the chat box so that I will continue with the next point in the live demonstration. And then click on service accounts. Okay. And here, if I go to here, there is a database secrets. There is a button called the database secrets. Okay, if this database security is known to other people, then it means that they will write the data in your database. Okay, so just click on a database secret, and here is a secret dot secret. There is a button called as show. So click on a show, and there is a copy secret button activated. So click on it. Okay, and go to your notepad right here, database secret, and paste it. Okay. So we got two things: Firebase path, and another we got database secret. Sometimes you can also call this as a secret key or authorization key. Okay, anything, any name you can assign. Fine. Once you are done with this, now I will go to again the real-time database. I will check is there anything. So we don't have any data right now. Okay, and now we'll go to the Android app development. Okay, have you done up till now, everyone? Because now I am moving to MIT App Inventor. Okay, so let me go to MIT App Inventor. Now how to go it? Show you. Just somebody asked me, please repeat. So go see here. Okay, on a left hand side top corner there is a project overview, correct? So हमें क्या क्या copy करना? You have to first click on this. See here. So there is some lag what I am saying and what is happening on your window. So this is what the path of your database that you have to copy. Okay, you just copy it and put in your notepad. Okay, or wherever you would like to copy it, just copy it, and I'm just giving its name of Firebase. Okay, so this is my path. Fine, this is the one thing that you have to do. And then go to this project overview. Okay, and there is a setting button. Click on it. There is a project setting. If I click there, it will open a new window. And then click on service accounts. Then click database secrets. At the bottom side, you can see there is a database, then secret key, and at the bottom there is a one button is enabled, that is called as show. Now click on it, your secret key will be available there, and there is a button called as copy secret. So click on it and go to again your notepad and just give a name, say database secret, and paste it. Okay. If you miss any one of the character of this secret key, then it will not be possible for you to upload your data on a Firebase or to read the data. Okay, anything will not be possible. So either you copy it on your notepad, or you directly copy it into your any API that you are using, either your IoT node or the app that you are using. So directly copy from the Firebase database into mobile app or in your IoT node program. Okay. Okay. Next, we'll move to the Android app development. So where it is. So we'll go to the next point here. That is the Android app development. Now, basically, the computer science people or there are other programmers that work with the Android Studio to develop their apps. But for the beginners or for the students, it is very difficult to if they are the first year or second year engineering student, then obviously they have to start with the Android Studio because they will learn how to develop the app in Android Studio. But the faculty like us, those who are already having the experience of 20 or 25 years and they have not worked with the such type of programming skills, and those who are already from the other background, those who are not aware about such type of programming, then it will be helpful for them to go to develop their app using this MIT App Inventor. What is this MIT App Inventor? See, its image itself shows that there are the blocks, and using these blocks, the B image is created. What actually it means that using the only blocks, the block level programming actually it's called. So using just block, it can develop your Android app. Okay. So we'll start with the developing the Android app itself through the MIT App Inventor. Okay. So go to the Google again. Okay. Searching here for MIT App Inventor. It will open the window like this, MIT App Inventor. Click on it. Okay. Anything that you would like to learn about the MIT App Inventor, you just go there and try to learn everything here. Okay. So many tutorials and everything is there, so you just try to learn them. Okay. And now I'll go to create apps. Okay. You will not get the window like this because if you are already logged into Google, then you will get the sign in. Okay, you have to choose an account or you will get the sign in. So I am using my Google account as it is. If you do not want, you can use using another account. Then if you click on the Google account that you are using, Then you will get the terms of service. Then you have to accept that terms of service, and then you will get the such type of window. You may get one window there, the pop-up, and okay, welcome pop-up, and at the bottom there will be a button called as a continue. So just click on that continue, and finally you will get the screen like this. Okay, so you will get the screen like this. Okay, but in your case it will be blank because you have not created any project, so you will get a blank screen. Okay, so we will make a project here. So before moving here, I will explain the complete MIT App Inventor here, and then we will move ahead with the developing your project. So what is here? There is a first button here is the start new project. So from here we can create our new project. Then if any projects that you are deleted, then that will go to the trash. Then login to gallery is there. It means that suppose there are few projects that you want to share with the public, then you can make that projects published to gallery. So there is another gallery available with the MIT App Inventor, and you can make this project to the public. Okay, so anyone can go through your project and can access your project and take the help. Okay, they are not going to modify your project, but your project will be available to them. So what is the block you are used, how you are doing, so everything will be available. Okay, so that is what these few buttons are there. Then on the right hand side, this is the my projects. On the top side, there is a my projects. On right side, on top, there is a my projects. Then again the view trash is there. Then there is a site guide. Okay, then report an issue. If you have any issue facing, that issue you can report. Then you can change the language, and then on the right top corner, then there is your email ID, and in that you can just click on a sign out. So there is a sign out button. Okay. And now on the left hand side, to the top, few of the things are available. Say projects. Under the projects, there is again the few buttons are the same, just like my project, start new project, then import project. So you can share your project to your colleagues by using the file name called as a .ai file. Okay, so suppose I would like to share a project to you, then I have to download the project with the name .ai. Okay, so that you can import. Then Shivam Padai, would you like to speak something? Let me allow you. Mr. Shivam, would you like to say something? You raise your hand. Shivam, Mr. Shivam Upadhyay. Okay, so here we have, so this will be the import from the computer, or you can import the .ai file from the repository. Okay, then there are few other buttons just like export all projects. Then there is a import key store, so don't think about all these things, you will think other things later on. Okay, and then there is a connect. So what is actually this connect is there? MIT App Inventor also provides the AI emulator. Emulator means what? If you do not have the Android mobile, or you would like to test your app before installing it on your mobile, then you just use it. You just connect it to emulator. There are different emulators available on the internet. You have to download it, and that get connected with this emulator. Okay, and then in that case, whatever your app is there, that you can just like we do the simulation for any circuits. In the same way, you can emulate our Android app over there, and you can test whether it is working correctly or not. Okay. Generally, we don't do this thing right now. Okay. As I said, we would like to make it as simpler as possible. So there is a button that is called as a build. Okay. So here is a few options we have. That is app provide QR code for .apk. It means that it will pop up a QR code, and by using your mobile phone, as you know, there are QR code scanners nowadays in our mobile phone, and you just open that QR code scanner, and pop-up of QR code is there, you just scan it, and whatever the APK file is there, that will be automatically in your mobile phone. Or if you want to save that APK file on your computer itself, then click the second option. Then that APK file will be saved on your computer. You just use your pen drive or any other device and copy that APK file and move to your mobile phone. Okay, so such type of things are available here, and then there is a setting. So you can disable project auto load, just like you have seen that automatically when I started my project auto loaded, because it shows my last project. Okay, so if you want to disable it, you can disable it likewise, and there is also help available. You just go there, what is the library, extensions, tutorials, and so many other things are available. Okay, and you can go through it. Okay, so I hope this is the complete overview of MIT App Inventor is there. Now we will go to the start new project. That will click start new project, and I will give here. I'm giving, say, any name. Let me call. You just give any name to your project. Okay, my app is there, so I call data monitor. Say health. Monitor. Just give a name of farm monitor. Okay, it is up to you. Turning your to your project. Why this is so? With the same name, your app will be downloaded. So your app will get the same name. So you just assign this good project name here. So I have given farm monitor, and let's click on a OK. Okay, now automatically it will open the new window. So once we are done with the project name, then we click on OK, and a new window will appear like this. And now what it is showing at the top, middle of there is a phone-like structure. So how your app will look, that is what's shown here. Okay, on the top of that mobile phone image, it is shown phone size. So it is showing phone size, tablet size, monitor size. It means that how your app will look in the phone, how it will look in the tablet, or how it is going to look on a monitor. So in the same, suppose you would like to make your app for mobile phone, you use it. If you would like to make your app for tablets, how it will look, you just make it. Then if you want to make an app for monitors, just like nowadays TVs are having their own apps, so you can make an app for such type of size. So as we are developing our app for mobile, we'll go for the phone sales. So what is this complete ID is available. So on the left hand side, there is a palette. Okay, those who are already aware about everything, okay, from the MIT app inventor, they can directly search the components. Okay, as you start doing the hands-on with the MIT app inventor, then you can directly search the component by entering the name. Suppose just like there is a button, so I can enter the button here. That button will appear. So once you start working with this MIT app inventor, automatically the name of these palettes will be known to you and you can directly search them. If you don't know, then don't worry about this. Then there are the different options. At the bottom there is a user interface available. Okay. So in the user interface there are different options available, just like button, checkbox, date picker, then image, label, list picker, then list view, and so many different palettes are available. Okay. आपको पता होगा है ना, you know that in your generally in our mobile apps there are few buttons available, text available, images are there. So such type of things, if you want to add in your app, so you have to pick a particular palette from here. Now if you go to the bottom, there is a layout. What is the layout here? That how you want to make your mobile app. Okay, so there should be a good structure for your mobile app. So for that purpose, we can use the different options from here, just like horizontal arrangement, table arrangement, vertical arrangement, likewise. Because it is very difficult for you to keep every palette in the aligned way in the app. So use the tables so that it will be aligned. Suppose you want 5 sensors data in a table form. So in a one column there will be a sensor name. On a second column there will be a sensor data. So in that case, what you will do? Suppose you have 2 columns, for one column for your sensors name, another column for your sensor values, and how many sensors you have? 5. So 1 for the name and the 5 for your sensors. So total there will be 6 rows and 2 columns. So just select a table having a size of 2 columns and 6 rows, and you put there. So in this way, this will help us to make our app aligned and in an easy way. Okay. Then there is a media, so you can add the camcorder, you can add the camera. So if you would like to make an app in which you would like to take a photograph, you can add the camera itself there. So you can add one button, and if you click on that button, then camera will pop up. Then you can have image picker. If you want to take the image from your photo gallery, you can add the player, so it will play any say MP3 sound, MP3 file. You can add the sound. There will be pre-recorded sound in your mobile that you can play that. You can have a sound recorder, speech recognizer, text-to-speech, video player, and so many things are there. Okay. Then you can, if you go to the drawing animation, then there is a this ball, canvas, and image sprite is there. What is actually the canvas is there? If you would like to draw a graph, in that case you have to use the canvas. Okay, so we'll not discuss much more of things of this. Then you can go add the maps in your app. It's like say navigation, so many things. There's like marker and other things are there. You can go to the different sensors. So what is this sensors? These are not the sensors of your IoT node. These are all sensors of your mobile phone. Okay, so if your mobile phone have all these sensors, then you can directly use them for your app. So already accelerometer is there, barcode scanner is there, barometer, clock, gyroscope, light sensor, location sensor, magnetic, okay, proximity sensor, thermometer. So I know, you know that these are such sensors are nowadays available in your mobile phone. So if all these are available in your mobile phone, you can directly use them in your app and you can use them for your purpose. Then if you go to the social, you can use the contact picker, email picker, you can use the phone call directly from your app, texting, Twitter, likewise, or you can share. If you want to share something through your app, you can use this thing. If you go to storage, then we have a few of the database are available, just like the cloud database file. You can store the information in the form of file. Then the TinyDB is available, TinyWebDB is available. So these are some of the databases are available. And then there is a connectivity, that is how we are activity started, then Bluetooth clients, then serial. This is available for Android. Then web, where if any information if you would like to connect with any web address, just like if you want to connect with the www.google.com, so you have to use this web. And there are so many other things available, just like experimental. In experimental, we have a Firebase database. See, it is available in the experimental, and there are few of the extensions available. So there are so many extensions available. You have to import them. Okay. So just like the BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy, if you want, you can add here, or other any extensions that you want, you can add them from this extension. Okay, so this is what the complete palette is here. At the middle there is your mobile app structure. So anything that you want, suppose I want a button, so I will pick from button and I will drag here. So keep this button pressed of your mouse and drag it to your this app. See here, this button came to your app. Okay, so this is the button. And for if you click on this button, on the left hand side it will show how many components are there on your screen, and for that component what are the properties are there. So if I click here, it will show the button here. Okay, and what is the properties of this button that are available here. Just like suppose I want to change the name of this button, so I will change the name, just like say I will click here and I will write here the click. And if I say, see here, on the name of this button is now click. If I want to make the button to be on a complete screen, so what I will make the width to the fill parent. So it will be okay. So see, the complete button is now on a complete screen of your window. If I want to change the font size, so I will make it 20 like this. If I make it to bold, I will make it bold. If I want to change the color of the text, I can change it to red like this. I will change it to red. Okay. If you want to change the background, okay. So in this way, we can do so many operations on your single palette. I hope you understand. You have to pick up a palette from the left hand side. You have to add that palette into the viewer window, and then on the left hand side there are the properties appearing. So you have to select a particular palette and you have to change the properties of that palette. Okay. I hope you have understood this one. Okay, if you have understood this one, you just put yes or no in the chat box so that I will know her. So in the same way, you can pick say text, and I will write here. I will make this text. Let's click on this text label and go to again the alignment. It will be say center. Make it to the width to the fill parent. Okay. Then the label is say like this. So in this easily you can pick up any type of palette from the left hand side into the viewer window, go to the right hand side and change all the properties of your particular palette, and this way your app will start looking like this. Okay. Okay, I think we'll take a break now because it is almost 12:13. So we'll join again at 1:30 p.m. and we'll start developing the mobile app, because once we start developing the mobile app, it will be easier. So we'll develop both the apps for monitoring and control, and then we'll connect it to our Firebase database, and then in the next session we will connect with the Firebase database and we'll develop the apps. And in the third session we'll try to get the data from your electron server. If type permits, I will also show you how we can route this data through the ThingSpeak. Okay. In the next session, I will do very somewhat fast. Those who are not done this part of this session, I request them make a project on an MIT App Inventor and how to do the database on a Firebase. So there are many videos available on the internet. You just go through it so that they can have the same type of structure available in the Firebase as well as in the MIT App Inventor. Okay. So thank you all of you for joining here. We'll meet at 1:30 p.m. again, and we'll see and we'll complete our mobile apps. So thank you all of you.